The Young and the Restless spoilers when Phyllis decided that she was going to stake her claim in Genoa City's most vaunted boardrooms. Nothing, not objections, not warnings, not alliances that disastrously crumbled at her back, was ever going to stand between her and her ambition. Whispers first swirled around town about her secret meeting with Amanda, the confidant she'd chosen to confide in about her most audacious goal yet. To become Prime Minister of this corporate fiefdom, a title she invoked half in jest and half in steely seriousness. Phyllis had listened closely to the rumors that Aristotle Dumas might be planning a hostile takeover of Newman Enterprises, and she'd felt a spark of opportunity ignite inside her. If Dumas was poised to wrest control from Nicky Newman, then Phyllis could ride his coattails straight to the zenith of power. She told Amanda that she wanted to meet this mysterious tycoon without delay, not merely out of curiosity but with a surgical purpose, to discern whether his threat to Nicky was real, to assess the depth of his ambitions, and above all, to persuade him to grant her the top seat at the table once Victor's protégé found himself ousted from the very empire he'd poured his life into building. Setting the stage for that clandestine encounter demanded every ounce of Phyllis's cunning. She confessed to Amanda that she had brazenly borrowed Billy's phone when he wasn't looking, an act that penniless desperation might call desperate, but in Phyllis's hands it was pure strategy. With Billy's contacts at her fingertips, she extracted Dumas's number, then crafted a carefully worded text that beckoned him into a conversation he would be hard-pressed to refuse. The message hinted at shared interests and the promise of an alliance that could solidify his control over Newman, should he choose to enlist her services. But it wasn't enough merely to secure the line of communication. Phyllis had spent the preceding days tuning into Amanda's broadcast on Monday nights, eavesdropping on every nuance in Amanda's tone, every fragment of gossip that slipped into her commentary. She'd tracked Dumas's public movements, cross-referenced speculation about his recent financial maneuvers, and even followed him, discreetly, of course, into the darkened conference room of a downtown hotel where he had met with unknown financiers. All of this reconnaissance was distilled into her pitch, a cocktail of insider knowledge and flattery that she planned to pour over Dumas when they finally met. But the stakes extended far beyond personal vendetta or corporate ascension. Phyllis's true motive lay in two expedient objectives: revenge on Billy for the indignity of being dismissed from Abbott Communications, and the ultimate snub to Victor Newman, whose contempt for her had always been as public as it was unrelenting. By securing Dumas's favor, she would not only engineer Billy's professional ruin but also cast a long shadow over Victor's carefully curated legacy. If Dumas ousted Nicky, if he shattered the Newman dynasty in a deluxe boardroom coup, Phyllis would emerge not just as a survivor but as the indomitable power broker of Genoa City. She envisioned the moment when she would stride into the rotunda of Newman Enterprises, head held high, as Dumas's chosen lieutenant, and watch Billy's face pale when he realized the gravity of his mistake. Behind closed doors, she saw Victor. Besieged, baffled, and forced to negotiate with the very woman he had always underestimated. The mechanics of the meeting were almost absurdly straightforward, a hush-hush diner rendezvous, strategically scheduled when neither Billy nor Victor's secretaries would be on high alert. Phyllis had insisted Amanda play the part of innocent bystander, someone with no stake in corporate intrigue but plenty of credibility among Dumas's inner circle. In her mind, Amanda's presence would lend authenticity and charm to the meeting, a reminder that Phyllis was not merely a jilted executive but a visionary whose understanding of power dynamics transcended personal grudges. Yet beneath every polite smile and every sip of overpriced coffee lay a corrosive determination. Phyllis intended to lay out her terms with crystalline clarity. She would endorse Dumas's takeover, mobilize her network of contacts within the Newman and Abbott camps, and engineer a seamless transition that would leave innocents, like Nicky and her devout supporters, scrambling for cover. In exchange, she demanded the top position, the brass ring she had coveted ever since she first set foot in corporate corridors. As the hour of reckoning approaches, whispers have begun to leak across Genoa City's gilded halls. Victor's allies are suddenly wary. Board members of Abbott Communications are checking their phones in the dead of night, and Billy, oblivious to the full scope of Phyllis's plan, senses only that something dark is stirring behind every handshake and every friendly invitation. Nikki, meanwhile, remains blissfully unaware that her empire stands on a precipice, that a former protégé turned nemesis is maneuvering to supplant her with the help of a man whose name has become synonymous with calculated ruthlessness. The next chapter in this saga promises a collision of ambition and betrayal the likes of which Genoa City has never seen, a woman with nothing to lose pitted against some of the most powerful players in the business world, wielding subterfuge and charm as her weapons. When Phyllis at last faces Dumas, the world will watch, breath held, to see whether she can transform her audacious gambit into a new order. Or whether her quest for vengeance will consume her, leaving behind a trail of ruined alliances and shattered legacies. When ambition and loyalty collide, the fallout can be as spectacular as it is devastating. In the case of Phyllis Summers and Amanda Sinclair, two women bound by friendship, trust, and mutual respect, there exists an ever-present tension between Phyllis's unrelenting drive to secure her place in Genoa City's boardrooms and Amanda's steadfast commitment to integrity. Phyllis has already demonstrated, on at least 2 occasions, that nothing short of her own self-interest will deter her from crossing personal boundaries. First, when she brazenly borrowed Billy Abbott's phone to obtain Aristotle Dumas's contact information, and second, when she covertly monitored Amanda's Monday night broadcast to glean any scrap of intel she could use in negotiations with Dumas. Both episodes left Amanda unsettled. Aware that Phyllis could be capricious and ruthless in pursuit of her goals, but each incident was, in Amanda's mind, an aberration rather than a harbinger of outright betrayal. The question now is whether Phyllis can rein in her impulses and preserve the bond she shares with Amanda, or whether she will go so far as to imperil their friendship irrevocably. In the May 26th episode, Phyllis made an audacious request. She asked Amanda to forward her the precise details of when and where she would meet Dumas, so that Phyllis could arrive unannounced and command the conversation from the outset. Amanda's immediate reaction was to refuse, emphasizing that she valued her professional reputation and would not risk it by assisting Phyllis in what she described as yet another one of her overblown escapades. To Amanda, the offer represented a step beyond mere corporate maneuvering. It was a step into personal complicity in a plan whose primary purpose was to manipulate and undermine friends and foes alike. By turning down Phyllis's request, Amanda drew a line. She would not be an accessory to any scheme that threatened innocent parties or exploited her own social standing. Phyllis's response, to nod with polite understanding, masked a deeper calculation. If Amanda would not volunteer her help, Phyllis suspected, she could simply appropriate Amanda's assets by other means. Phyllis's self-professed prowess in technology and subterfuge is well documented. Her ability to slip into Billy's phone undetected spoke not only to her boldness but also to her technical savvy. She understood, for instance, that most people fail to change default security settings, reuse passwords across multiple platforms, or dismiss the significance of firmware updates. Any one of those oversights would grant her an entry point. Consequently, the notion that Phyllis could hack Amanda's email, crack her phone lock, and sift through her calendar for vulnerabilities is hardly far-fetched. With the right software toolkit, keyloggers, phishing emails mimicking official correspondence from Newman Enterprises, or even social engineering tactics such as forgot password scams, Phyllis could acquire Amanda's login credentials and gain unfettered access to personal and professional information. Armed with that knowledge, she could track Amanda's whereabouts in real time, intercept messages, and potentially sabotage appointments or disseminate false information to discredit her friend should the need arise. Yet technology alone does not guarantee success. It is the human element, the unpredictability of emotions and loyalties, that ultimately determines whether such a breach goes unnoticed. Phyllis might underestimate Amanda's vigilance. Amanda is no naive ingenue, but a seasoned professional who understands that privacy is the last bastion of personal autonomy. She regularly locks her devices, employs two-factor authentication, and follows cybersecurity best practices, a fact Phyllis may have overlooked in her zeal to secure an advantage. If Phyllis attempts to access Amanda's digital life, the moment Amanda detects an unusual login or a password reset request she did not initiate, alarm bells will ring. Any hacker worth her salt knows that evading those alerts while extracting meaningful data requires meticulous planning and continuous cover. Phyllis may be clever, but she is not infallible, and a single misstep, failing to clear log files, leaving a traceable IP address, or tripping an intrusion detection system, could expose her transgression. Should Amanda discover that her email has been read, her messages diverted, or her calendar entries tampered with, the breach would not only constitute a criminal offense but also a moral one of the highest order. Friends share confidences, they do not spy on one another. Such an invasion of privacy would be tantamount to an act of war in the realm of personal relationships. Amanda's sense of betrayal would be profound, prompting questions not only about Phyllis's respect for boundaries but also about the authenticity of every interaction they had shared. The emotional fallout to shame, anger, sorrow, would eclipse anything Phyllis could have rationalized away in pursuit of her schemes. Even if Phyllis could rationalize her behavior as necessary or just business, Amanda would hear only the echo of a friend who valued her own ambitions more than their bond. In turn, Phyllis would face a sobering calculus: was the throne she chases worth the ruin of the one close relationship she still retains? Ambition has been her guiding star, but it has also burned through alliances in the past. If she survives the boardroom battles and secures Dumas's favor, she may find herself surrounded by new allies, yes, but also by suspicion, second-guessing, and isolation. Conversely, if she retains Amanda's trust, she would have a genuine confidant, someone whose loyalty is earned rather than coerced, whose advice might prove invaluable when corporate intrigues escalate beyond even Phyllis's control. The question hinges on Phyllis's capacity for restraint. Can she recognize the threshold beyond which a scheme becomes too hazardous, not only legally but personally? History suggests that Phyllis is not known for retreat. Her instincts drive her to push until something gives way. The critical uncertainty is whether that something will be her friendship with Amanda. Weighing the consequences, one can imagine an alternate path. Phyllis acknowledges Amanda's refusal and pivots to another strategy, perhaps recruiting an outside intermediary to approach Dumas, thus preserving Amanda's integrity and shielding her from direct involvement. By compartmentalizing her plans, Phyllis could achieve her objectives without dragging her friend into potential legal or ethical quagmires. Such an approach would demonstrate growth, a rare humility in Phyllis's playbook, signaling to Amanda that Phyllis values their relationship enough to protect it. That act of consideration, surprising though it may be, could strengthen their bond and even broaden Phyllis's network through gratitude rather than fear. In this scenario, Amanda remains a willing ally in spirit, sharing counsel at minute's notice while maintaining plausible deniability in any questionable dealings. Of course, that outcome depends entirely on Phyllis's willingness to subordinate her immediate hunger for power to the preservation of human connection. Soap opera dynamics often reward the bold and punish the cautious, but real-world relationships demand balance and empathy. If Phyllis prioritizes the deal over her friend, orchestrating a hack or a theft of credentials, she will discover that silencing alarms in the digital realm cannot mute the clamor of conscience. Amanda's eventual discovery of the truth would not only end their friendship but might expose Phyllis to legal jeopardy, a twist that could topple her from the apex she so desperately seeks. In conclusion, Phyllis Summers stands at a crossroads. Her talents, technological savvy, strategic acumen, and relentless determination could indeed grant her access to Amanda's private communications. Yet, by doing so, she risks obliterating the one personal alliance she still retains amidst the shifting sands of corporate warfare. A friendship, once broken by deceit, rarely heals fully. If Phyllis overcomes her self-interest for a moment of unexpected restraint, she may secure both her career ambitions and her closest confidant's loyalty. But if she allows her darker impulses to dictate her actions, she will find that some bridges, once burned, cannot be rebuilt even by the most resourceful of women. Ultimately, the preservation of Amanda's trust may prove the most formidable challenge of all, one that no amount of hacking prowess can surmount if it is lost forever. Phyllis's investigative instincts are sharper than ever, and it's all but certain that she will unearth the precise coordinates of Aristotle Dumas's clandestine operations, if not his very arrival in Genoa City. From the moment whispers first spread about Dumas's impending takeover, Phyllis has methodically tapped every source available: financial filings hinting at shell corporations, anonymous tips from boardroom insiders, and even surveillance of Dumas's known associates. By cross-referencing their meeting schedules with security camera timestamps outside high-end hotels, she'll almost inevitably converge on the one place he cannot hide. Securing that intel won't just catapult Phyllis into the front row of a historic power play, it will serve as her personal announcement to the town: I was here first, I saw him first, and I own that moment. In soap opera fashion, this revelation will likely coincide with Dumas's televised or live-streamed debut, creating a ripple so powerful that Genoa City's social pages and boardroom chatter alike will pulse with Phyllis's name. She'll relish the dual triumph of having both forced Dumas's hand and marked herself as the preeminent authority on his plans. Yet every victory carries its cost. By deploying the very tactics that earned Amanda's trust. Eavesdropping, covert surveillance, appropriating confidential data, for yet another exploit, Phyllis edges ever closer to betraying the one friend who still believed in her integrity. Amanda may have tolerated Phyllis's earlier transgressions as business as usual, but mapping Dumas's movements in secret crosses into territory that no loyal confidant can overlook. If Phyllis chooses to risk Amanda's goodwill for the sake of scooping the town, she may find that the applause she craves from the wider world will ring hollow without a true ally at her side. In the end, Phyllis must decide whether the glory of being Dumas's first visitor is worth the price of her dearest friendship, because once lines are blurred beyond recognition, even the most formidable strategist can lose everything she once held dear.